Welcome to our video about departmental BPC plans. I am Luther Tychonievich, an Associate Professor of Computer Science at the University of Virginia.
And I'm Colleen Lewis, an Associate Professor of Computer Science at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
We are both BPCnet.org consultants, which means we assist in helping people writing and verifying their BPC plans. And the purpose of this video is in part to explain some changes that have been made to departmental BPC plans in September of 2021. We have a separate video that overviews all of those changes and what you should know about them that's linked below this video on the YouTube page, which you're welcome to look at. We're going to focus primarily just on the departmental plans, and in particular, specific techniques you should think about or approaches you can use to update an existing plan or to create a new plan to match the current rules for these documents.
Great. So tons of departments in the US actually already have a verified departmental BPC plan. And what that means they've done is they've written a 2-page document, submitted it to bpcnet.org. Folks like myself and Luther have gone through to make sure it meets the checklist requirements and verified it. For those people who have a verified departmental plan, this slide is for you. Let me walk you through the steps. First, you're going to copy the departmental BPC plan template from bpcnet.org. Remember, now we need to follow all the rules of the NSF formatting, the PA-PPG. So that template is going to follow those rules as long as you don't change anything. Additionally, 2 pieces for working with getting it verified. One is that template includes a line for effective dates for your plan, and that's going to be filled by BPCnet staff. Additionally, there's going to be a 1-inch square where BPCnet staff will add a verified stamp, and that's included in the template. And because you're going to submit your file as a doc or .x file, they'll just be able to replace that with the verified stamp. So you'll update your header information, right, because you've already got a verified departmental BPC plan. You're going to copy your current plan's content into the appropriate sections of the template, making sure to not change the formatting substantially so as to still meet the NSF requirements. You're going to cut goals and activities that are not focused on NSF as defined NSF defined BPC. So the NSF focuses on groups underrepresented in computing who have faced long-standing and persistent underrepresentation. And so this includes racial, ethnic groups, gender groups, and disability groups. And each of your goals and each of your activities must be focused on one of these focal groups. Each activity must additionally align with one of your goals, one of your BPC focus goals, and this must also focus on the same groups. And the key idea is that these plans will be included in connected project plans, and all of the project plans that go to the NSF need to be exclusively focused on BPC as the goal. Each of your activities and goals also needs an identifier. This can just be something like G1, G2, A1, A2, but that's going to allow your PIs to reference it. Once you've done all these steps, you're going to go through on bpcnet.org and double check that you've hit all the components on that checklist. If you're still over 2 pages at that point, we used to just tell you to make the font size smaller, but that's not allowed anymore. So now you need to, some pieces that might help you cut down text is any context that's in there that doesn't motivate a goal. And you might cut activities where it would be harder for PIs to join them. Even with 2 pages, you're not going to be able to capture everything that your department is doing. And so really maximizing opportunities for your PIs to get involved. After you submit it to bpcnet.org for verification, consultants like myself and Luther or others will review it and be able to provide feedback to you before verification.
What if you don't already have a departmental BPC plan or you wish to write a new one? So these are some of our suggestions about how to go about writing a departmental BPC plan. First, again, we're going to suggest you copy the departmental BPC plan template from bpcnet.org, which will help you match the NSF formatting rules about line spacing and font size and so forth. It'll have a line where the effective dates of the plan will be added by bpcnet.org when it's verified. And it'll have that space where the BPCnet staff can add the verified stamp when your plan is verified. You'll need to change some of that header to put the name of your institution and so forth, but not fill in the dates. Again, that'll be done by BPCnet staff. But then the next thing you're going to do is once you've done that sort of initial checklist kind of thing is you want to brainstorm what the list of activities you want to include on. Remember again, departmental plans are are now a source of activities for a connected BPC plan a PI will submit. And so you want lists of activities that PIs can engage in. We suggest thinking about two things here. First, what are the PIs that are likely to use this plan? What are the faculty in your institution already doing? What are the currently ongoing BPC activities that you could include? And also, what are other BPC activities that the PIs at your institution will find it easy to participate in? And particularly if several PIs can participate in the same activity, that'll be more valuable to you. So you'll create this list of activities, then you'll need to write the content of the plan. We'll handle that separately. There's a lot of things to think about the actual formatting and so forth of it. But after you've put the plan together, you're going to want to go to bpcnet.org and check out the checklist for departmental BPC plans and go down each item there and make sure that you've met all of the things that are expected of these plans. Once you're done that, you may very well have too many pages of content, in which case you'll need to cut it down to 2 pages, because 2 pages is all these can be. And again, we're going to suggest cut some content that's likely to not have a significant impact on the overall plan. If there's something in your context that's not supporting any specific goal, that doesn't need to be there. And if you have activities that not many PIs could participate in easily, those are going to have less value to your department than ones that a lot of PIs could participate in. So removing some of those and possibly supporting goals and so forth can help you shrink your plan down to the appropriate size.
Okay, so Luther left a big gap, which was write the content of your departmental BPC plan. So you've already brainstormed what activities you might include. Now I want to walk you through some of those steps. So the first piece is you're going to write goals that motivate all your BPC activities. And in particular here, we want goals and not vision. So my vision is to have an inclusive campus where which is not necessarily measurable, and like, how would I know if I had achieved that goal? You're welcome to include that visionary text, but we also need a goal that motivates each activity. So here's an example goal. I say G1, remember those identifiers. By particular date, I will have this particular measure will improve from a current value to a goal value. So imagine I was saying, by 2023, the retention among Black students from incoming majors to graduation will improve from 80% to 90%. We have a little note that also include the number of people if the value is a ratio or a percentage, because the feasibility of that goal varies if there are 5 Black students in my institution or 500 Black students in my institution. And so include that additional information in there as context. You're going to provide relevant data to each goal. Here's the get out of jail free card, which is or additional activity to collect that data. And so maybe you want to make a goal about retention, but actually you don't know your retention levels for some particular group yet. You can combine in that the goal, an activity that collects the data, and then activities that seek to improve those retention rates. And multiple activities may share the same goal, but they don't need to. I found in writing my plan that it was helpful to have goal, activity, goal, activity, goal, activity. That made it easier for me to explain what we were doing, but that is not necessary. You're also going to describe each activity. This part is really important to provide a clear description. First, you need an identifier. Again, that's so that PIs, when they put it in their connected project plan, can refer to it succinctly. It's going to have an identifier and then also a short name. It's going to have a contact person. This is really important when we're reviewing plans so that we can see that who sort of is the key contact person for each of these things. That's also important for your PIs as they're looking at their plan, your departmental verified plan, to figure out how they might plug in. Who should they contact about what steps they could take and how they could get involved. Each activity also needs to identify what goals it aligns with. You might just say G1. It needs to include a clear description of what will occur as part of that activity. That part's really important to get right. And then additionally, how its outcomes will be measured. And say my activity relates to sending students to the Richard Tapia Diversity and Computing Conference. You could imagine that a lovely long-term measure would be, how did this conference attendance shape the experiences of my students in their career 10 years later? That would be lovely to be measured. That might not be a realistic activity to engage in that measure. And so for some of them, it might just be participant. What are the numbers of students and the demographics of the students who are attending the Tapia conference funded by our department? But the key piece is that for every activity, we need to understand how it's measured. With the stuff I have just described, that might basically fill your 2 pages. And that's really the important meat of the project plan, of the departmental BPC plan. But we also want a little bit more additional institutional context. This is going to describe your institution. For example, I work at an R1 that has this size undergraduate population, master's population, PhD population, faculty size. Some very basic statistics or demographic information is helpful, but not necessary at this stage. We just want to be able to provide your plan a little bit of context. And you can include as much of that realistically as you can fit. So it's really nice as this public document to help include in it year after year as you get it verified, the demographic data at your institution.
As you're thinking about this, not all pieces will fit exactly the examples we have here, and that's fine. For example, you could have a goal that is, we want to know what the retention rate of our Black students is. We just need to figure that out. And that's a fine goal as well, as long as it's clear that you've achieved it at some point or not. And so on, as you're designing these activities and these goals, fit them to your specific situation. And when in doubt, use the checklist to verify that what you're doing is meeting everything you. Right, so we've talked about a process you can use to create a plan, to modify the one you have. But how do you go about making those individual pieces? Here's some advice. These are not things you have to do, but these are advice we have that we think will make your life easier. First is you're thinking about your goals. We require you to have BPC-focused SMART goals. So SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bounded. But you can have 1 or 2 goals that might cover all of your activities. You may have many different goals. Common ways to think about these goals is if you have some data that shows there's a BPC problem, that shows that some group is not participating at a level you would desire, make a goal to change that data. Or if you don't have such data, make a goal to collect that data and then improve it. When you're thinking about the context, we generally suggest only include what you need to include to motivate your goals. A lot of people start getting in context, they provide more and more data, and that's interesting and probably useful for your institution, but probably not the best use of space here. Also, as you're thinking about this context, when you want to provide numbers and information, that's good, we want numbers and information. But we don't want numbers or information that would violate privacy. So if there's a small number of people and giving some ratio about them might help identify a specific person, just say you've omitted that data for privacy's sake. Don't send it to us. Don't tempt us to post it on the web where it shouldn't go.
Okay, so advice for activities. By far, the activities are the most important part of the departmental BPC plan. So starting by identifying things that the department does where PIs are already involved or could be involved. There are lots of things that my department is doing where PIs are not particularly involved in it, or potential PIs are not particularly involved in it, and those can be included because they're really important to our BPC efforts in the department, but it's not the best use of space for us. Some additional ideas of things you might include as activities are BPC-focused REU programs. So the Computing Research Association has the DREW, the Distributed Research Experience for Undergraduates program that recruits students who identify as underrepresented in computing because of their race, gender, or ethnicity or disability status. BPC education, so just faculty or PIs engaging in learning about broadening participation in computing, how we address it, what are various initiatives, what are the root causes of it, just learning about that. It counts as an activity and is a great activity for any of your PIs. We can all deepen our knowledge and understanding of the context. BPC-oriented data collection. We know that to be able to make progress, we need to be doing a good job collecting and analyzing data, because if we're not looking at those data, we're likely not paying attention to potentially important metrics. And so many departments choose to have a data chair or a BPC committee focused exclusively on data collection. And so that can be a great way for faculty to get involved, even doing BPC-oriented data collection within their own courses to the extent to which the university allows that. Diversity conference attendance with students. So there are many diversity-focused conferences that additionally align with the NSF definition of broadening participation in computing, and it can be an awesome activity for faculty regardless of their demographics, regardless if they fall into one of the groups underrepresented in computing, to join a group of students and potentially other faculty to attend one of these diversity-focused conferences. And in that, they can help mentor the students to try and understand how to get the most out of that experience. Affinity groups within your department. So affinity groups are typically student organizations or staff or faculty organizations that focus on people from a particular identity group. So there might be a Black student group on campus. And that there might be a Black student group in computing, and the extent to which faculty can engage with these groups, potentially providing mentorship, even just getting to know the students in the organization, can be another great faculty activity. We have at my institution a huge BPC committee, and actually participating in that BPC committee can be a great opportunity for faculty to get involved. And for connected project plans, the PI could explain that they could join the BPC committee and then specifically what their responsibilities would be on that BPC committee. This is just a starting list of things you might think to include. Faculty might already be doing this and other things, but these might be good ways to plug additional PIs in.
As always, the NSF has the official rules of all of this. There's also many resources available on bpcnet.org of example activities, example plans other people have verified, and importantly, there are consultants that you can visit with that can help you refine and draft your plan, work on various components of the activities, and so forth. In addition, there are other videos in the series and other resources you can find linked below the video on the YouTube page where you found this video. Thank you for your time.